After listening to a motivational speech for 2 minutes, your enthusiasm and energy rise, but 2 minutes later, you return to feeling indifferent. Whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, there's no difference. True motivation is something that remains constant, enduring throughout your life. It's not something you can gain from a video or acquire instantly. To truly awaken such motivation, you need to eliminate laziness from within yourself. You must uproot the very source of laziness. Once you do this, you'll find a continuous enthusiasm and energy within you, something that will persist. Let me ask you a question: is there any connection between physical strength and laziness? Can a physically strong person not be lazy? On the other hand, can't a physically weak person be filled with vibrant enthusiasm? We've seen many people around us who, despite their physical strength and exercise routines, remain lazy. Why does this happen? Why can't a person who can complete any task quickly still struggle with laziness? One thing is clear: there is no connection between physical strength and laziness. Motivation should come from within, and you have to understand where it originates. Once you comprehend the source of motivation, you won't ever be touched by laziness throughout your life. You won't even need to listen to other motivational speeches. Today, I'm going to share a story that will reveal a secret. A secret that, by shedding laziness and staying motivated every moment, will enable you to achieve your goals. Before we dive into this story, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Now, let's begin the tale. It's a story from a time when India was under British rule. During those days, most people earned their livelihood through farming. In a village called Tanakpura, Sunil lived with his father. Sunil wasn't married yet and often worked alongside his father in the fields. Sunil's father had grown old, but he hadn't given up working in the fields. On the other hand, Sunil was physically quite strong, and he could handle tasks that would typically require 4 people all by himself. He possessed a unique strength. His mother had taken care of cows and buffaloes at home, and by drinking their milk, Sunil had become very strong. Due to this strength, no one in the village ever dared to pick a fight or quarrel with Sunil and his family. During that time, British authorities imposed a tax on any grains produced in the fields, which the villagers had to pay. Therefore, the villagers had to work very hard in their fields because after paying a substantial part of their crops as tax, they were left with very little for their own consumption. Hence, they had to toil relentlessly to produce enough grain for their own use throughout the year. While Sunil's father had grown old, he was highly experienced in farming. He knew when to sow which crop, how much water each crop required, and how much effort was needed. Sunil's father had all this knowledge, and he never lagged in putting in the hard work. Even during the coldest nights, he would tirelessly water his crops. But as time passed, they were getting older, and their eyesight had diminished. Therefore, watering the fields at night became quite risky because many wild animals roamed around the fields. Sunil's father's life was at risk due to encounters with such animals, like snakes that had been seen in the fields multiple times. This made Sunil's mother very worried, and she often said to Sunil that since his father had grown old, he should take on the responsibility of the entire farm work himself. She would say, "Think about it, Sunil. It's a good thing to see a young son helping his old father in the fields. You're so strong, why don't you work in the fields?" However, Sunil remained unaffected by his mother's words. He spent his days chatting with his friends and playing various games. He never took the initiative to help his father with the farming work. One day, while Sunil's father was watering the fields, a snake suddenly bit him on the leg. There was no one around to help him. He rushed back home as fast as he could. It was nighttime, and there was no hospital nearby. The nearest hospital was in the city, which was far away from the village. So, when Sunil was carrying his father to the city for medical help, his father passed away on the way. Sunil returned home with his father's lifeless body. The house was now quiet. There was no one left to share the responsibilities of the house except Sunil and his mother. All the responsibilities now fell squarely on Sunil's shoulders. Sunil had never imagined that his life would take such a turn. All the carefree days were gone, and suddenly, all the responsibilities fell on his shoulders. Now, he had to cultivate the crops himself. Taking care of the crops, watering them, everything became his responsibility. However, Sunil had developed a habit of not being interested in any kind of work. His mind was occupied with chit-chatting and playing card games all day long. But time took a turn, and the day arrived when the British officers came to the village to collect taxes. Since Sunil didn't take care of his fields, there was very little grain left in his fields. Compared to other fields, his had only half the crop, and most of it was taken away by the British as land revenue. Now, Sunil's house was faced with a food shortage. His mother had to rely on the kindness of neighbors for grains. It wasn't pleasant for her to ask, but what could she do? Sunil had become a very lazy person. Now, his fields remained barren, with no one to cultivate them. Seeing this, pained Sunil's mother deeply. She felt a sharp pain in her heart. The family that had been so prosperous not long ago was now dependent on their neighbors for grains. She often tried to explain to Sunil, but after hearing her words, Sunil would get motivated for a while, and rush to his fields, but then, his enthusiasm and energy would quickly fade away, and he would return to his old lifestyle. One day, when Sunil's mother was scolding him for his laziness, Sunil angrily replied, "I also want to cultivate crops like others, but what can I do? I just can't bring myself to do any work. I go to sleep at night thinking that I'll wake up in the morning and work in my fields, but when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like getting out of bed. I'm very troubled by myself. I want to get rid of these habits. What should I do? I don't understand." Sunil's neighbor was also listening to all this. After hearing Sunil's statement, his neighbor said that his son used to be in the same situation, but someone told me that there was a Buddhist monk in the neighboring village. When I introduced my son to him, I didn't know what he told him, but suddenly, my son changed completely. Today, he works very hard. As soon as he wakes up in the morning, he goes to work in the fields without saying a word. I am amazed to see this change in him. So, Sunil, maybe you should go and meet that Buddhist monk too. He doesn't charge any money. Even if you don't benefit, you won't lose anything. Hearing this, Sunil's mother said, "Son, go and meet that Buddhist monk once. After that, if there is no change within you, I will bear it, but try to change yourself at your level. You have the ability, you are strong, yet you don't do any work. Go and meet that Buddhist monk. I am sure you will receive some help from there." Encouraged by his words, Sunil went to the Buddhist monk the next day and explained all his problems. After listening to his problems, the Buddhist monk began to speak. The Buddhist monk told him that at night, you go to sleep thinking that you will work in the fields in the morning, but when morning comes, you don't feel like getting out of bed. Why does this happen? Sunil replied, "That's why I've come to you, Mahatma, to find out." After that, the young monk said to him, "You want to change yourself, that's obvious, but you want to change yourself in just 2 minutes. For 2 minutes, you have enthusiasm and energy, and then it quickly fades away. That's why you think about it at night, but you can't do the work in the morning because the 2-minute enthusiasm and energy will only bring you sorrow because you won't be able to complete the work, and if you don't complete it, you'll think that your enthusiasm and energy are useless. That's why never get too excited about anything. Keep your mind calm and composed. Try to generate a continuous enthusiasm and zeal. For this, I will tell you 5 ways through which you can stay filled with enthusiasm and zeal for life, and you won't face any difficulty in doing any work. The first principle is to decide every day to take 1 step closer to your goal. You don't have to complete the entire task in 1 day. This way of thinking often prevents us from completing our work. Think for yourself, can you harvest your crop in 1 day? It's a gradual process. So, start taking 1 step towards harvesting your crop every day. For example, when it's time to harvest, first prepare your fields for one day. After that, gradually increase your work of harvesting your crop every day. As you do this, your enthusiasm and zeal will increase continuously because as you take one step closer to your destination every day, you will realize that you are getting closer to your goal, and your goal is approaching you. So, as you approach your destination, your enthusiasm and zeal will keep growing. When a person starts climbing a mountain, in the beginning, the mountain seems very high. Perhaps a person may not decide to climb it. But when a person starts climbing that mountain and slowly starts reaching its summit, their steps automatically start to quicken because they are getting closer to their destination. Therefore, the first principle is to take one step towards your destination every day, not more, not less. The second principle that eliminates laziness is this: we consume rich and intoxicating foods, engage in smoking, and consume intoxicants, which create intoxicating particles in our bodies, making our bodies lazy. Therefore, it becomes essential to eliminate those intoxicating factors. If you want to eliminate all those intoxicating factors, then I will tell you a method. After waking up every morning, you need to take sesame oil and rinse your mouth with it. After rinsing, spit out the oil. You have to do this process for 21 days, every day for 5 minutes. After that, all the intoxicating particles in your body will be gone, and your body will start functioning like electricity again. Remember, you have to rinse your mouth with sesame oil every morning for 21 days. The third principle that will uproot your laziness is this: forget the taste and eat what is obtained directly from nature. We often eat things that are made by human hands. We don't consume the food that is obtained directly from nature. So, the food that we get directly from nature, like fruits, vegetables, whole grain bread, and so on, is the kind of food that will keep your body away from laziness and filled with energy. We often see that today's younger generation eats for their taste alone. They consume things that are made through processes that, if you look at them closely, might even discourage you from eating. Such as fast food, burgers, and so on. Eating this kind of food produces harmful elements in your body. These harmful particles stick to your stomach, creating laziness within you. So, eat food that provides strength to your body, and strength comes from the food that is obtained directly from nature. The next principle that is worth understanding is that you have come into this world to work. Contribute your full effort. Just think for a moment, if you didn't come into this world to work, you would be lifeless, a stone, or some other creature. But you have been given a life as a human being, and you must make full use of it. You have to give your contribution to this world. You have to fulfill your duties. Without fulfilling those duties, there is no liberation in this world. So, if you understand this principle of what my contribution is to this world and what my duty is, then you will naturally make an effort to eliminate your laziness. After that, the last thing to understand is that even without us, the work will eventually get done. We often think, what is my need to do this work when so many others are already doing it? We think, why should I take on this responsibility? But if we understand that this work is our responsibility and that it will never be completed without us, then we will realize our responsibilities. After that, you will be able to eliminate your laziness. You will understand your laziness and overcome it. So, friends, how did you like it? Please let me know in the comments section, and if you liked it, be sure to subscribe to this channel. See you in the next story. Until then, take care and stay blissful.